the black Charger parked in a nearly empty racetrack parking lot. In the shadow of the Coliseum, at a little after 3 a.m., two waited under a solitary streetlight amongst a massive parking lot. Sid leaned up against his ride with his arms folded, broken face and all, alongside Allen, who was an unassuming blonde man, but beautiful in comparison to him. The two watched as a black Lexus pulled up in the desolate place. Chima, a dark-haired woman of exotic beauty, stepped out of the car, still dressed in her evening wear. Though her outfit was out of place, her heavy scowl of disapproval made up for what the outfit lacked. "So, how much did you see? And how much did the kind see?" Chima demanded of Sid. The broken-faced Nosferatu leaned over to Allen, who handed him a phone. Chima took the device and watched some of the video feeds Allen queued up. It clearly portrayed a broken individual dragging himself on legs that could not rightly support weight, openly biting into a man's neck. The teeth were not clear, but the attack certainly was coupled with the inhuman feats of resilience. "How many are there?" Chima asked Sid, or Allen, whoever spoke first.
"A decent amount, 6 or 7 from different angles. It's multiplying," said Allen.
"Get the Fulgers on it," Chima commanded.
"Already did,"
Sid said, careful not to seem as if he were attempting to be better at her job than she was. Sid knew already how much contempt she had for anyone native to Furlong. The Fulgers were a group of kindred who attempted to discredit any and all local instances of blatant supernatural occurrences that happened in Furlong. Where they couldn't digitally disappear, they physically seeded doubt by posting contradictory information or lies just to make the truth of the matter seem fake, or so messy and unreal it was hard to believe. "Do we know who the kindred is?" asked Chima. Sid didn't quite know without a shadow of a doubt, but he had a hunch enough to get them started.
"No, but I saw a helicopter land on the fairway. That may be Delta's helo," said Sid.
"And do I know Delta? Should I know Delta?" Chima asked.
"She's not really all that powerful or nothing, just some up-and-coming lick. She ain't nobody really worth knowing," said Sid.
"Until now," Chima added. Chima's contempt for Furlong was one of the city's worst-kept secrets, so Sid tended to have a better grasp of the kindred of the city than Chima, which was one of the reasons she worked with him. The other reason was because of how willing he was to do violence without the slightest provocation. "Where does this Delta congregate?" she asked.
"I know Formico Studios, or I think, but I don't know where. She's in a coterie with a thin blood that goes by the name Pally, a Malk, I don't know his name, and a dude named Synth. He was a race car driver. It was probably him who wiped out," said Sid.
"Do you think they'd fight?" Chima asked.
"I doubt it, but they'd get mopped if they tried."
"We need to move fast before they go to ground." Chima looked at her phone. "Sunrise is 5:37, so we have about 2 hours to find them. Let's say 30 minutes before we can find shade ourselves. So I give it an hour and a half." Allen rose his hand as if to politely alert the teacher. "Yes, you," said Chima, struggling to remember Allen's name. Allen was technically a hound, but as it stood, he was more Sid's assistant than her subordinate. Chima tended not to talk to anyone in this city she didn't have to.
"They have a thin blood, so they could potentially move him in the day," said Allen.
"What's your name again, Alex?"
"No, Allen."
"You are a thin blood?"
"Yes."
"Then it's on you to make sure they don't slip away on your watch," said Chima, who had an even higher contempt for thin bloods than other kindred. "We will stake first and ask questions later," said Chima, moving to the trunk of the Challenger. She knew that Sid tended to have weapons in there. When Chima looked in the trunk, she saw the body of a man in skinny jeans looking back at her with the rictus scowl of horror frozen on his eyes. "Who is that?" Chima asked without judgment.
"Some asshole," Sid replied.
Chima rolled her eyes and took 2 stakes that were velcroed to carpeted interior. She closed the trunk and said nothing more about it. We move fast, we move decisively. We do not give them a chance to breathe, said Chima.
What about Kane?
Asked Sid. I could not get in touch with him. If you can, tell him to meet us at Formico Studios.
Are there any other questions?
Asked Chima. Allen slowly raised his hand. Chima stared at the thin blood with monstrous eyes that were deathly thin on patience. Allen lowered his hand. Now is not the time for indecisiveness, Chima said before walking back to her car and peeling off.